Samuel Parker stood at the altar next to the heaviest woman he'd ever seen, knowing he'd just traded his dignity for a single cow. But when Isabella Rodriguez locked the bedroom door that night, he realized he had no idea what he'd actually agreed to. The drought had been merciless. 3 months without rain, and Samuel's cattle had withered to skin and bone before dying one by one. His ranch, once proud with 100 head of cattle, now held nothing but cracked earth and broken dreams. The bank notice still crumpled in his pocket reminded him that he had 30 days before losing everything his father had built. That's when Victor Blackwood had made his offer. "Marry my daughter Isabella, and I'll give you the finest breeding cow in Phoenix Ridge territory," Blackwood had said, his gold teeth glinting in the Dusty Rose Saloon's dim light. "She's not much to look at, but she's got a good heart, and you need cattle more than you need pride." Samuel had stared into his empty whiskey glass, feeling the eyes of every man in the saloon burning into his back. They all knew his situation. They all knew he was desperate enough to consider anything. "She's willing?" Samuel had asked quietly. "She's 26 and unmarried. She knows her options." Blackwood's laugh was cruel. "Besides, what choice do either of you have now?" Standing in the small wooden church, Samuel glanced sideways at Isabella. She wore a simple brown dress that strained at the seams, her dark hair pulled back severely. Her face was round and soft, but her eyes held something he couldn't quite read. Not shame, not resignation, something sharper. The preacher's words blurred together as Samuel thought about the cow waiting in Blackwood's barn, a Holstein, fat and healthy, worth more than everything Samuel owned combined. It would be the foundation for rebuilding his herd, the difference between survival and owning the land that bore his family name. "I do," Isabella said firmly when prompted, her voice stronger than Samuel expected. His own voice caught in his throat. "I do." The ring was too small for Isabella's finger, but she forced it on anyway. When the preacher declared them married, she looked directly at Samuel for the first time all day. That strange look in her eyes was still there, but now it seemed almost amused. The reception was small and awkward. Blackwood's hired hands ate quickly and left. The few neighbors who attended whispered among themselves, stealing glances at the unlikely couple. Samuel mechanically accepted congratulations that felt more like condolences. As evening approached, Isabella quietly gathered her few belongings. She had only a single worn carpet bag and a leather-bound book she clutched tightly. When it was time to leave for Riverside Ranch, she climbed onto the wagon without assistance, her weight making the springs groan. The ride to his ranch was silent except for the creak of wheels and the distant howl of coyotes. Samuel kept thinking about the cow, about the chance to start over, about the price he'd just paid for survival. But when they reached his small cabin and Isabella walked straight to the bedroom, something in her posture changed. She moved with purpose, not resignation. That's when she turned the key in the lock, trapping them both inside, and Samuel realized this night would be nothing like he'd imagined. Samuel stared at the locked door, his hand frozen on the handle. The small bedroom felt like a trap now with Isabella standing between him and the only exit. The single candle on the nightstand cast dancing shadows across her face, making her expression unreadable. "What are you doing?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Isabella didn't answer immediately. Instead, she walked to the window and pulled the curtain shut, blocking out the moonlight. When she turned back to face him, something in her posture had shifted completely. The submissive woman from the church was gone. "Sit down," she said firmly. Samuel felt a chill run down his spine. "Isabella, unlock that door right now." "My name isn't Isabella." She opened her carpet bag and pulled out a thick roll of papers. "And I'm not Victor Blackwood's daughter." The words hit Samuel like a physical blow. He sank onto the bed's edge, staring at her. "What?" "My real name is Maria Santos. Isabella Rodriguez died of fever 2 years ago." She unrolled the papers on the small table. Blackwood needed someone to take her place for this marriage. Someone desperate enough to play the part. Samuel's mind raced. "That's impossible. Why would you?" "Because Blackwood owes me something far more valuable than a cow." Maria's voice was ice cold. "My father owned the water rights to Silver Creek Canyon. Blackwood murdered him for them 3 years ago. Made it look like a riding accident. The room seemed to spin around Samuel. "You're lying." "I have the proof right here." She tapped the papers. "Witnesses who saw Blackwood tamper with my father's saddle. Bank records showing he forged the water rights transfer. Everything I need to destroy him." Samuel stood up slowly, his legs unsteady. "Then why marry me? Why this charade?" "Because Blackwood is paranoid. He keeps armed guards around him constantly, never goes anywhere alone." Maria moved closer, her eyes intense. "But tonight, thinking his problem daughter is safely married off, he'll be celebrating at the Dusty Rose Saloon, drinking, vulnerable. Problem daughter? Isabella was going to expose him. She found out about my father's murder and threatened to go to the territorial marshal." Maria's voice softened slightly. "Blackwood had her poisoned, made it look like fever." Samuel felt sick. "And you think I'm going to help you kill him? I don't need your help killing him." Maria reached into her carpet bag again and pulled out a small glass vial filled with clear liquid. "I need your help making sure he pays for what he's done." The sight of the vial made Samuel's blood run cold. "Maria, whatever you're planning—" "Justice, Samuel. I'm planning justice." She tucked the vial into her dress pocket. "Blackwood murdered 2 people and stole everything my family owned. Tonight, he pays." Samuel moved toward the door again. "I won't be part of this madness." "You already are." Maria smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "You're married to his daughter, remember? When they find his body tomorrow morning, you'll be the first person they suspect. After all, everyone knows how desperate you were." The trap was perfect, and Samuel finally understood why Maria had looked so amused during the ceremony. She hadn't been marrying him. She'd been framing him. But what she didn't know was that Samuel had secrets of his own, and when she unlocked that door to leave for Blackwood's murder, she was going to discover that her perfect plan had one fatal flaw. Samuel watched Maria check the small vial one more time, her fingers steady despite the magnitude of what she was planning. She had no idea that he'd been expecting this moment for months. Not this exact scenario, but something like it. Something that would finally give him the chance to settle his own score with Victor Blackwood. "You're making a mistake," Samuel said quietly. "The only mistake I made was trusting that you'd understand." Maria moved toward the door, key in hand. "Stay here. When they come asking questions tomorrow, tell them your wife went to visit her father one last time before starting her new life." "Maria, wait." Samuel's voice was calm, almost gentle. "Before you go, there's something you should know about that vial." She froze, her hand on the key. "What?" "It's not poison." Samuel sat back down on the bed, suddenly looking more relaxed than he had all evening. "It's colored water with a bit of salt." The color drained from Maria's face. "That's impossible. I bought it from the medicine man in Tombstone. He guaranteed it would kill a man in minutes." "The medicine man works for me." Samuel smiled for the first time since the ceremony. "Has for 6 months now. Ever since I started tracking down everyone who wanted Blackwood dead." Maria's hand trembled as she pulled the vial from her pocket, staring at it in disbelief. "You've been watching me." "You're not the only one Blackwood destroyed, Maria. The difference is I've been patient. I've been planning." Samuel stood up slowly. "That cow he gave me as your dowry. It belonged to my family before the drought. Blackwood bought my debt from the bank and foreclosed early, then had his men steal my cattle in the night." "Then why stop me? Why not let me kill him?" "Because hanging him would be too quick." Samuel walked to the window and looked out toward town. "I want him to lose everything slowly, too. He made us lose everything. His land, his cattle, his reputation. I want him to die a broken man." Maria clutched the useless vial, her perfect plan crumbling around her. "The papers, the witnesses, they're real." "I know. I've been collecting evidence against Blackwood for months. Your father's murder was just one of many crimes." Samuel turned back to her. "The territorial marshal is already on his way. Should arrive tomorrow morning with federal warrants." "You used me," Maria whispered. "We used each other. The difference is my plan doesn't end with either of us swinging from a rope." Samuel unlocked the door. Blackwood's reign ends tomorrow, but it ends legally. Maria sank into the chair, the weight of her failed revenge crushing down on her. But as Samuel opened the door, the sound of horses approaching fast made them both freeze. "They're coming for us," Maria breathed. Samuel's confidence vanished as he recognized the riders, Blackwood's men, armed and riding hard toward the cabin. Someone had betrayed them both, and now their carefully laid plans meant nothing. Tonight wasn't going to end with justice or revenge. Tonight was going to end with blood. The thunder of hooves grew louder as Samuel blew out the candle, plunging the bedroom into darkness. Through the window, he could see torches bobbing in the distance, at least 6 riders coming fast. Maria grabbed his arm, her breath shallow with panic. "How did they know?" she whispered. Samuel's mind raced through the possibilities. Someone had told Blackwood about Maria's real identity, about the fake marriage, about everything. But who? The medicine man was loyal, bought and paid for. The few people who knew about his investigation were trustworthy. Unless... "The preacher," Samuel breathed. "Blackwood owns him." Maria's grip tightened. "What do we do?" "The root cellar. It's hidden under the kitchen floorboards." Samuel grabbed his rifle from beside the bed. "You take the evidence and hide. No matter what happens, don't come out until morning." "What about you?" "I'm going to give them what they came for." Samuel checked his rifle, knowing he had 6 shots against 6 men. Not good odds, but he'd faced worse during the war. "They want a fight. They'll get one." Maria clutched the papers to her chest. "Samuel, those men will kill you." "Maybe, but if I run now, Blackwood wins everything. Your father stays dead and unavenged. My family's land stays stolen. Isabella's murder goes unpunished." He looked at her in the darkness. "I won't let that happen." The horses were close enough now that they could hear Blackwood's voice shouting orders. Maria kissed Samuel's cheek quickly, then slipped out of the bedroom toward the kitchen. Samuel waited until he heard the cellar door close before moving to the front window. Blackwood sat on his horse in the yard, torch held high, his face twisted with rage. 5 armed men flanked him, rifles ready. In the flickering light, Samuel could see that one of them was the territorial marshal himself, the man who was supposed to arrest Blackwood tomorrow morning. "Samuel Parker," Blackwood's voice boomed across the yard. "I know what you've been planning. Come out now, and we might let you live long enough to stand trial." Samuel stepped onto his porch, rifle lowered, but ready. "Evening, Victor. Congratulations on the wedding. Your daughter's quite something." Blackwood's laugh was ugly. "That fat cow isn't my daughter, and you know it. Where's Maria Santos?" "Never heard of her." Samuel kept his voice steady. "My wife Isabella went to bed early. Long day, you understand." "Stop playing games. The Kiasia saw." Marshall spurred his horse forward, badge glinting in the torchlight. "We know Maria Santos killed the real Isabella Rodriguez 2 years ago. We know she's been planning to murder Mr. Blackwood, and we know you've been helping her." The betrayal hit Samuel like a physical blow. The marshal wasn't coming to arrest Blackwood, he was working with him. Every piece of evidence Samuel had gathered, every witness he'd found, every careful plan he'd made over the past 6 months had been reported directly to the man he was trying to destroy. "You're all on his payroll," Samuel said quietly. "Smart man." Blackwood dismounted, pulling his own rifle. "Did you really think you could outsmart me? I've owned Phoenix Ridge territory for 20 years. I know about every move before it's made." But as Blackwood stepped closer, confident in his victory, he made the same mistake he'd made with Maria's father. He underestimated the desperation of a man with nothing left to lose. Samuel raised his rifle as Blackwood approached, but he wasn't aiming at the man who'd destroyed his life. Instead, he pointed the barrel directly at the torch in Blackwood's hand. One shot, and the yard would plunge into darkness, giving him the advantage he needed. "You made one mistake, Victor," Samuel said, finger on the trigger. "What's that?" "You assumed I was planning to fight fair." Samuel fired, and the torch exploded in a shower of sparks. The burning oil splattered across Blackwood's shirt, sending him stumbling backward, beating at the flames. In the chaos and darkness, Samuel dove behind the water trough. The corrupt marshal shouted orders, but before anyone could react, the thunder of approaching horses filled the air. Different horses, federal horses, the real territorial marshal arrived with 6 federal deputies, their badges gleaming in the moonlight. "Drop your weapons," Marshal Thompson commanded, his voice carrying absolute authority. "This is a federal investigation." The corrupt marshal who'd been working with Blackwood tried to run, but Maria stepped out of the cabin holding a lantern and a thick bundle of papers. She'd never hidden in the cellar. Instead, she'd been signaling the real federal agents with the lantern from the kitchen window. "Marshal Thompson," Maria called out clearly, "I have documented evidence of murder, theft, and corruption involving Victor Blackwood and Deputy Marshal Crawford." Blackwood's men threw down their rifles immediately, realizing they'd been caught in a federal trap. The corrupt Deputy Marshal Crawford reached for his gun, but Samuel was faster. His shot hit Crawford's hand, sending the weapon flying into the darkness. "Maria Santos has been working with federal investigators for 3 months, Marshal Thompson announced as his deputies surrounded Blackwood's men. "Every conversation, every bribe, every threat has been documented." Blackwood, still smoldering from the burning oil, looked between Maria and Samuel with dawning horror. "This was all planned." "The marriage was real," Maria said, walking to stand beside Samuel. "But Isabella Rodriguez was my sister, not Blackwood's daughter. When she discovered his crimes and threatened to expose him, he had her poisoned. I've been gathering evidence ever since." Samuel stared at her. "Your sister?" "Isabella was trying to help your family retain the water rights when she uncovered Blackwood's forgeries. She died protecting people she'd never met." Maria's voice was steady, but tears ran down her cheeks. "Tonight was justice for her, for your father, for everyone he destroyed." Marshal Thompson slapped shackles on Blackwood's wrists. "Victor Blackwood, you're under arrest for murder, fraud, theft, and conspiracy. Deputy Marshal Crawford, you're under arrest for corruption and conspiracy to commit murder." As the federal deputies led the prisoners away, Samuel and Maria stood together in the yard. The ranch was still failing, the drought wasn't over, and they were still married to each other under false pretenses. But Blackwood's reign of terror was finished. "What happens now?" Samuel asked. Maria smiled, the first genuine smile he'd seen from her. "Now we rebuild together, the way Isabella wanted." Samuel looked at the woman who'd married him for revenge and discovered something better. Sometimes the greatest treasures come from the most unexpected places. Call to action. Don't miss what happens next. Click the link below to watch our next thrilling tale where love, betrayal, and justice collide in the untamed frontier. Watch next. The Widow's Secret Gold Mine, when truth changes everything. If this story kept you on the edge of your seat, smash that like button and let us know in the comments, did you see the twist coming? Subscribe and ring the bell for more incredible Western tales that prove the Old West was full of surprises you never expected. Support our storytelling with a super chat or super thanks. Your support helps us bring you more amazing stories like this one. Share this video with anyone who loves stories where justice prevails and the underdog wins. What story should we tell next? Drop your suggestions in the comments below. Your engagement means everything to our channel family. Thank you for being part of our Western storytelling.